the golden recipe for walnuts. Did you know that you get cancer and dementia because of what you eat with walnuts? There are foods that are best and worst for your health, including walnuts, the superfood. That is the best for your health. Even these good walnuts are good for your health if you eat them well. If you eat them with bad foods, they can actually harm your health. That's why we've prepared this. We'll tell you all 3 foods that are worst and 3 foods that are best for preventing cancer and dementia. 2 Vita Salutable, your daily healthy habit that protects your health. We always produce videos for your health with information from Korean healthcare specialists and researchers in related fields. Are there any people who haven't subscribed yet? Subscribe and like right now. And share it with your loved ones so that everyone can live a healthy life. Today's main character is the nut called a superfood, walnuts. As it resembles the brain, it is full of energy and nutrients necessary for brain health and dementia prevention. You can eat them as sweet walnut cookies or eat them separately for your health. In fact, walnuts are not only good for the brain, but they are full of amazing benefits. It is especially effective for insomnia, so there is a story that Empress Dowager Cixi of the Qing dynasty in China ate walnut porridge at night to ensure healthy sleep and mental stability before going to bed. However, you should not eat these good walnuts as they are. Walnuts are high in fatty acids and calories, so how you eat them and how you eat them are most important. If you want to eat walnuts for your health, you must remember the food and miraculous recipe I recommend today and eat them together. However, did you know that there are foods that are harmful to your health when you eat walnuts that are good for your health? Then I will tell you about the 3 worst foods that go well with walnuts and the 3 best foods that can maximize the health benefits of walnuts. The first food that you should not eat with walnuts is apples. Many people eat nuts and apples together for breakfast. Nutritionally, it may seem great, but it is not a good combination. First, eat a lot of good foods to stay young and prevent aging. However, many people miss the key point. It is vitamins. This vitamin saves 43% of the oxygen that cells can use, preventing the generation of oxygen radicals, the main culprit of cell aging. For youth, you must take vitamin E more than anything else. It not only maintains the youthfulness of cells, but also maintains the elasticity of blood vessels and protects red blood cells. It also helps platelets, which are the first to rush out when injured and prevent bleeding and infection, coagulate. Surprisingly, today's main character, walnuts, have the highest vitamin content among nuts and contain 15 times more than other nuts. On the other hand, apples, which are called the king of vitamins, are rich in vitamin C, which is the best for antioxidants and energy recharge. But if we focus on this, have there been people who ate nuts and apples together and felt bloated? There must be many. The reason is that their digestion speeds are different. When nuts, which are slow to digest, and apples, which are fast to digest, are mixed together, gas is created in the intestines during the digestion process. Therefore, abdominal bloating and digestion volume continue. Therefore, it is better to eat walnuts and apples separately rather than eating them together. Then, the first food that I recommend here that goes best with walnuts is tomatoes. I previously introduced you to the amazing antioxidant effects of walnuts. What is even more surprising is that walnuts are the best at preventing inflammation and tumors, especially cancer metastasis. Why do you always need to manage your blood vessel health cholesterol levels for your health? This is because bad fat, cholesterol in the blood vessels blocks blood circulation, preventing nutrients and oxygen from being delivered to the organs. Therefore, the risk of arteriosclerosis, cerebral hemorrhage, and cardiovascular disease increases dramatically. Surprisingly, however, having a lot of cholesterol can even affect the occurrence of cancer. In the end, the organs cannot perform their functions, so they cannot prevent the occurrence of mutated bad cancer cells. In addition, according to recent research results from Duke University in the United States, cholesterol is the cause of cancer metastasis to other organs and recurrence. This means that cancer cells eat cholesterol and survive, despite intensive chemotherapy. So, it would be good to eat foods that can reduce or even eliminate cholesterol. Let's think about it simply. How do you wash clothes when they get oily? Oily stains need to be removed with oil. That's right. Only healthy oil can reduce cholesterol in the blood vessels. However, in addition to walnuts, there is a food that does the same thing as cleaning blood vessels and preventing cancer cell metastasis. Tomatoes. The unsaturated fatty acids in walnuts and the red pigment lycopene in tomatoes have the same effect. This lycopene is a fat-soluble ingredient, so you should eat it with healthy oil. Since walnuts are full of healthy fats, they create a combination that maximizes their synergy. Therefore, from now on, you can eat tomato salad with walnuts, or you can eat one tomato and a handful of walnuts together in the morning to have the best anti-cancer diet. The second worst food to go with walnuts is anchovies. Aren't you surprised? There are many people who eat stir-fried anchovies with lots of walnuts, almonds, and nuts. It tastes good, but it doesn't really go well with food. First of all, anchovies are called the king of calcium because they contain a lot of calcium. The calcium content is 10 times more than that of other fish and 5 times more than that of milk. There are many ingredients that are good for bone health, but above all, calcium is a component that makes up the bones themselves, so you should definitely eat it to strengthen your bone density. However, there is one problem. The absorption rate of calcium decreases significantly as you age. No matter how much calcium you eat, it is not absorbed well by the body, so it is of no use. So, should you take calcium as a supplement? No. Calcium, especially when taken as a nutritional supplement in large doses, does not circulate, so the risk of kidney stones and cardiovascular disease increases significantly. Since there is a high risk of side effects, calcium must be consumed as a natural food within a balanced diet. That's when anchovies, which are fish eaten with bones, are the best food. That's why you should stir-fry anchovies with walnuts full of unsaturated fatty acids. If you eat anchovies and walnuts together, you won't be able to consume any of the calcium in the anchovies. This is because walnuts contain phytic acid, which prevents calcium absorption. This ingredient combines with the calcium in the anchovies and forms an insoluble complex that doesn't dissolve in the intestines, so none of the calcium in the body is absorbed and is immediately excreted. Therefore, even though you ate anchovies for calcium, it was useless. So from now on, instead of eating anchovies and walnuts together, you should eat them separately to get all of their nutritional benefits. That's why the second food that I recommend that goes best with walnuts is red bean. When you think of walnuts, the first thing that comes to mind is warm and sweet walnut cookies, which are as good for your health as they are delicious. You probably already know that walnuts are the best for brain health. But do you know why they are good for preventing dementia? Walnuts contain not only omega-3 but also alpha-linoleic acid, which is unsaturated fatty acids. This linoleic acid is a component that makes up 60% of the brain's nerve cells. Therefore, when you eat walnuts, you are eating brain components, so they destroy brain nerve cells and increase their activity, which keeps you young and healthy. It actually increases the ability of the hippocampus, the central nervous system responsible for the brain's memory, so it is very effective in improving logical and reasoning abilities. Koreans have been eating a lot of walnut bread for a long time. However, no matter how much you strengthen brain cells, if the blood vessels that go down are full of waste, it will be of no use. And if your head and scalp are hot, it will be a big problem. This is when red beans, which are cold in nature and excellent for expelling waste, come into play. Also, have you ever experienced bubbles rising up when you boil red beans? That is the secret to red bean health, saponin. Red beans are also full of saponin, an antioxidant component that is only found in red ginseng and ginseng. Therefore, if you eat red beans and walnuts, the toxins accumulated in the head and navel are released, so the surprising health benefits of walnuts are directly delivered to the brain cells. In addition, red beans are the richest in vitamin B1 among grains. Since it is a vitamin for the brain, it shows the best synergy with walnuts. Another thing is that to solve insomnia, it is said that you always eat walnut porridge at night. This is today's key point. Walnuts have an amazing nerve stabilizing effect, so much so that they are used as a treatment for insomnia. Walnuts have an amazing calming effect on the nerves, so much so that they are used as a treatment for insomnia. Surprisingly, red beans are also full of vitamins B1 and B2, so if you eat them with walnuts, they can help relieve fatigue from the brain and even treat depression. So from now on, if you grind walnuts and red beans together and eat them as porridge or add walnuts to red bean porridge, it will be the best brain nutrition that helps with insomnia and mental stability. Lastly, the worst combination for walnuts is milk. First of all, walnuts are full of vitamin B2 and minerals, but they are lacking in one thing: protein. So, it may be good to eat them with milk, but it is much better to eat them with red beans or soybeans, which I introduced earlier. So, why am I telling you not to eat them with milk? As I briefly introduced earlier, walnuts contain an anti-nutrient called phytic acid. The plant toxin that walnuts created as a defense mechanism to avoid being eaten by predators is absorbed by the food they eat together, and instead, it bothers the stomach. In this walnut, phytic acid, especially catechin protein in milk, forms lumps and causes indigestion. In addition, it blocks the absorption of calcium, so it completely blocks the absorption of calcium in milk. Therefore, no matter how much you eat milk and walnuts for your health, it is of no use. So should you always worry about eating walnuts? No. There are two best solutions. The first is to boil walnuts once and eat them. Boiling walnuts once makes them soft and easy to digest, and it also reduces the activity of phytic acid, allowing you to consume all the calcium in milk. In addition, the mineral manganese in walnuts is the key to today's video. No matter how much calcium you eat, it will be of no use if your bones and cartilage tissues are not well formed. The manganese that is abundant in walnuts plays this role. The manganese in boiled walnuts creates strong bones and protects against osteoporosis and fractures, so if you eat them with milk, calcium absorption is the best bone health food. And secondly, if it is difficult to eat boiled walnuts, eat only 5 or 6 walnuts with milk, and also eat them with soy milk and alternative milk. Then the third best food that goes well with walnuts and a miracle is bananas. The combination of walnuts and bananas may seem a bit unfamiliar. However, it is a very famous energy supplement diet abroad, so you can eat bananas and walnuts together in the morning or grind them into a smoothie. If you know how they are good for your body, first, it will be even more effective. First of all, bananas are considered the #1 diet food. This is because they contain a lot of dietary fiber, which keeps you feeling full for a long time. In addition, they are rich in nutrients, and bananas are especially rich in potassium and magnesium, so they are absorbed into your muscles as soon as you eat them, and your energy is restored right away. Potassium even removes sodium from your body, so it has a great synergy effect with walnuts, which are the best at cleaning blood vessels. There is another surprising effect of magnesium in bananas. Magnesium is said to solve depression and give happiness. However, this effect makes the best combination with walnuts. The vitamin B in walnuts is the best for recovering from fatigue. Even the probiotic fiber contained in walnuts is an excellent stimulant for intestinal microorganisms. In the end, it helps with the movement of the paralyzed joints and the unsaturated fatty acids in walnuts stimulate the nerve fibers connected between the intestines and the brain, so you should definitely eat bananas and walnuts together for the prevention of depression and mental health. So far, we have looked at the 3 worst and 3 best foods to eat with walnuts. Finally, let's summarize it together. It is better to eat walnuts with tomatoes rather than apples. Eat them with red beans rather than anchovies. And instead of eating milk and walnuts together, eat them with bananas to recharge your energy. I hope you will take good care of your health by eating walnuts the superfood for the best health, along with foods that go well with them. Thank you so much for being with us for so long. If today's video was helpful, please subscribe, like, and set up notifications. And please share it with your precious family and friends. I will always pray for your health and happiness. This was your health guide, your healthy life. In the next video, I will calm